now had this calling to go farther eastward, across the pond, into the United Kingdom in Manchester. Tell us about what converged to make you make that leap again? I mean, farther eastward rather than going back home to Korea or back to Asia. What was going through your mind?
But at the time, I really didn't consider going back to Korea. I didn't think Korea was ready to accept women in management roles or the roles of leadership. I perceive there still to be very strong bias against women, and I have never considered myself to be, I don't know, normal. I always had a very strong personality. So my decision to explore something else other than America, which I was very comfortable with, but I felt I just learned English. I don't have to be afraid of speaking the language or going to places because I'm afraid of not understanding what people are talking about. So places I looked at was Australia and England. And I actually got a job in Australian graduate business school, but it was over the telephone. Then they said, trust us, it's a lovely place, you'll love it. And I said, it's just, I wanted to see people, meet people, and feel what it's like to be there. So that's how I chose England.
Well, I mean, 14 years in England, plus a few jaunts here and there in universities in the mainland, the main continent. Tell me how that formed your worldview, and at the same time you were honing your management education focus.
It was quite interesting learning to adapt to a new culture. And also the fact that I have been in America for so long, and that's where management education started. And to this day, I think most people would agree that's where a lot of innovation occurs and most people look up to in terms of practices. So when I was asked to run our MBA programs, and that's also the time that I come to realize everything is contextual. Everything is how you take the different perspectives. And you can accept the condition, the context, and see how you can make the contribution, or you can take an easy way out or take a complacent attitude. And I decided to embrace a set of challenges I've never thought that I would actually accept when I made a decision to go to England.
Well, one of the milestones you've had here is the fact that you helped transform the Manchester DBA program into the top in the world, the top doctoral program in the world. Tell us about what steps did you take specifically to make that happen?
So when I took over MBA programs, we were 47th in the world. When I stepped down 6 years later, we were number 22nd in the world. And that was not with any additional resources or monies or staff.
You were working with what you had.
Exactly. Just looking at things differently. So when I took over DBA program, I did the same thing. I did a lot of quality assurance types of issues in making sure the curriculum was very, very strong. I repositioned ourselves in terms of how we communicate what we offer to our target audience. And a lot of late nights and a lot of travels, meeting with the students, talking to my colleagues. It's just building relationship. We weren't selling it to thousands and thousands of people, but each bridge you make, each step you take, I think made a difference.
You see an entire a network of relationships from the professors to the, to the benefactors, to the alumni, and also to the students you recruit. How did you have that balancing act to get the best and the brightest whilst fixing the structure of a school?
It is difficult because, working with the students, especially when we're looking at our MBA students, our DBA students, they're all cream of the cream. So the egos that I have to deal with, I can
just imagine.
assure you is plenty of them. So you need to take a very balanced approach. You cannot have an attitude, I'm the professor, I'm the guy running the program, I know what I'm doing, you shall do what I tell you to do. On the other hand, if you let them run the place, then you have no strategic direction that you want to pursue. Your message is all blurred. So you got to know where you're heading, but you have to maintain that attitude, that perspective, and make sure that people can see it that way, and that is that you are listening to them, but yet you communicate why you're making certain decisions, and always engaging with them to sell your ideas, to sell your vision, really.
Well, Jikyeong, one of the things in striking that fair balance and fine balance is also being able to bring diversity in a school that tends to be, wanting to do a global approach. How are you able to bring that sense of diversity?
I think, based on my personal experience, I think diversity is very, very important, whether it's a gender issue, age issue, ethnicity, culture, orientation. I think it adds a lot to how we think, how we go about making decisions, how we actually see the world. So my being a minority, if you will, in many of the contexts, helped me see the world, see the situation quite often from very different perspectives. But if you can actually make them see why they need to see things differently, I think quite often people will listen to you. So I think my approach has always been, let's think about different perspectives. Let's think about different world, different market out there, and how do we actually create an appeal or attraction, something that people would appreciate about this diverse population, different approaches. And I think that's what I try to do. We need to think about how not only teach innovation, but we actually engage in innovation ourselves in terms of how we deal with management education.